How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination super revved up, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Henry Pitz. If you're not familiar with his work, check right over here. I feel like he is up in the ranks of the Brandywine illustrators, but never given as much credit as his work deserves. A beautiful draftsman. I love the way that he renders form and structure in all of his drawings. A great sense of composition and layout. Really strong structure in anatomy. And just a little bit of a unique take compared to some of his contemporaries at the time, for sure. Like if you look at this piece, it's really interesting. You've got this foreground character who's really well built, an interesting pose, great silhouette here. And if you took just this foreground rock and this character, that'd be like one plane. And then you have this middle plane, which would be the kind of path of this road here and the ship here. And then you have a further far back plane where you have the castle and the little people here. So it gives that really sense of depth and interesting layout for sure. Again, gorgeous stuff. The amount of information they can pack into an illustration is just beautiful. I really like these characters. I feel like there's a really nice blend of those ink drawings and charcoal there too. It looks like. But I really like the tonality. I tend to find, I've probably talked about this before, the stuff where you don't have tons of color. I think to me that speaks a little bit more because you can't hide behind, oh look, it's really colorful and the colors are really nice. You have to have strong structure and foundation and composition and layout, and it gets to the heart and the meat and the grit of a piece. So for me that really speaks well, and I love the expressions that he gets in these. Really interesting posing and grouping of characters here too, and they lend to the eye of the viewer as well. Now this one I really like because I feel like unfortunately I wasn't able to get it in the original form for this image, but I feel like there'd be a page break here and then be a really interesting layout, and I wonder how it was structured. If it was on the back of one and you had to flip to the next one, that'd be really interesting, or if it opened up to this full spread. Either way, just something to think about when you're doing composition or illustration, especially if you're doing it for like a children's book or just a novel or something, and you have that page break. There's so much fun you can play with just if it's a full spread, or if you have to lead the viewer to want to turn the page, and how you can play with that as well. Very interesting thought process to go through here. And again, just a gorgeous sketch. I really love when it's almost black and white, but with just a hint of one color, and so you play with that tone. And this one you can see some greens in here. Just beautiful stuff. So I urge you to check out more stuff from him. I'll throw a link in the description below. But I did find a quote, and this is from a book. I believe it's called Drawing Outdoors. It's a little bit longer, but I thought it was really interesting. It spoke to me, and maybe you guys will get something out of it as well. And it was, is the organ of the sense of wonder, and wonder can be stirred not only by strange and new, but by rediscovering the accustomed. In fact, the value of the artist's gift centers about the fact that he sees what other people see, but sees in an enhanced way. And I think that's completely true. It's not like we're not all growing up and living in the same world. It's just how you specifically see the world and interpret it, and that's going to be your strength. And I think a lot of times people lose that sense of self, because they want to learn this guy's style, or they really like that guy's style, or this guy's style. But if you really want to do something that's going to be lasting and leave an impression on whatever medium it is that you're a fan of or passionate about, you want to understand the fundamentals, you want to learn the basics, you want to learn from those who've come before you, but then you want to blend those in with what speaks to you and what your heart and your mind and your brain and your spirit and all that stuff, and how your specific aesthetic voice comes out into the world and what's true for you. And that might take a long time, and it's probably going to continue to evolve and develop as you get older and get more information as well on your medium. But I thought that was really interesting. It's not about that you see something that other people don't see, but your interpretation of what you see kind of. There's a cool little image I saw on Reddit the other day that was a little piece from an art studio. And you walk up to it and it looks like a square, and you walk around to the side of it and it looks like a bent up shape, and then you walk behind it and it turns into a circle. And it's all just about the perspective. Just because this guy in front of you sees it as a square and this guy behind it sees it as a circle and everything, it doesn't mean that you're not seeing the same thing. It's just how your brain's interpreting it, and kind of your belief system and everything behind that and everything too. Really interesting. I could ramble on about this forever, so let's get into some animation. This is the Buisnessman rig. It's part of the External Worlds collection from davidoreilly.com. Again, I'll throw a link in the description below if you guys want to play around with this one yourself. And if you're not familiar with what we'll be doing for the rest of the video, give ourselves usually about 48 frames or so. I go off and I find a rig that I've never used before. It's a free resource for you guys to play around with as well. And we kind of go from there. A little bit of over the shoulder, just hang out with me while I animate. A little bit of talking through the process. But the main goal of doing these videos each and every day is to hopefully encourage you and inspire you to go off and create your own content each and every day, to never give up on your dreams, to keep pushing, to take another step in your journey towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about. So let's get into playing for today. So we're going to do a walk cycle. A walk cycle here. But I was thinking, since he's a businessman, let's give him a little bit of a prop. It's not like it's got to be a great prop. We're just going to create a little polygon primitives cube here, just so we give him kind of like a iPhone or something shape to hold in his hand here. Maybe we'll thicken that up a little bit more, just so that we can hit on the Mike Gassaway principle of the hold the coffee cup acting. Great little principle that he has, that's as soon as you give your character a prop, your acting choices have to become more unique and more original, because they have to do something with a prop while they're making all their acting choices. So with doing a walk cycle but just giving him a prop to hold, we're forced to come up with some different posing, and that can be used to make more creative choices than not having a prop. So a prop shouldn't necessarily be a crutch. It can definitely be used to its advantage as well. And let's try and get a little bit better pose there. And let's create a more storytelling pose. We're gonna want to bring him down so that he's looking down at his phone. And we'll bring that back up a little bit more, so you can have a focus there. And we'll rotate the neck down a little bit more, and rotate the head up a little bit here. Now let's rest that arm and relax it a little bit more. Pull that up a little bit here. And we'll grab this, push it here, rotate it up, back a little bit. And let's make it a little bit thicker and a little bit skinnier here. And now let's take our hand pose and make that a little more interesting here. And maybe a little bit thinner here. And let's create a more interesting pose here. And thumb. And put it there. Bring that back out a little bit. And bring this in a little bit more here. There. There. let's go ahead and create a locator. And we'll pop it right here so we can constrain this thing together to the hand. We just want to make sure it's in a fairly good space here. So we'll grab our little cube here and go to our outliner, show all, and then we'll control click the locator. We'll parent those together, and we'll grab the locator and we'll shift click the wrist and we'll parent those together. Now if we did that correctly, when we move the hip, everything should move together. Okay, great. So I think we could go a little bit more straight. I don't think we need so much bend here, and do just a little bit of movement in that arm there. And I want to twist this so it's a little bit more straight on the camera, and let's create a little more of an interesting hand pose there. Doesn't have to be something great, but just a little more than the default pose we're given here. A little more of a relaxed hand pose. And that thumb's okay. Just pull it out a little bit more. Alright, so I think that's an okay place to start. Like I said, we got a little bit of an acting beat here to play with, which is always going to add a little more personality to our walk. So let's go ahead and make sure we have everything turned off except for our NURB curves, our NURB surfaces, and our polygons. Go ahead and hide the grade because I'm not worried about that right now. Go ahead and grab everything. Let's go ahead and save our file real quick. We are using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video. For more information on that and all the stuff we've talked about so far, check out the links in the description below. And now let's grab everything here except for that and that. And we'll set our first key. Now I think I want this one to be a little bit faster, like maybe he's on his way to a business meeting or something. So let's do it on 10s rather than 12s. Not super fast, but a little bit faster than what we normally would do, which would be about 12s or 13s per step. So we're just going to flick between those two here. And I think that means we have to go 60 frames to get it to loop correctly, right? And let's grab the other foot. Push it back there just so we can get our spacing pretty similar. Move that up to 10, and then we'll flick between those two keys here just to get our feet started, so we have somewhere to start with this walk. And let's see. That feels pretty fast. Alright, and I think these will be low steps because he wouldn't be putting effort into trying to get those steps up. So let's go ahead and go back real quick, and we'll just hit S on our keyboard to lock in all of our attributes at those points. And let's build in our passing position here. Lift it up there, back. The one thing I'm gonna have to see is, does it feel balanced? I feel like it's either a little too forward or a little too back on the hips overall. It's something that we'll definitely have to take another look at. I don't know that I love it at this point, because it feels balanced in a couple of these poses. Like that feels okay. It's just in the mid. I suppose once we get our up and downs on the hips and our side to sides and a little bit of rotating stuff, we'll start feeling a little better. Alright, and now let's even those steps out here. If I can grab the feet, let me grab you, controller. There you go. And go Window, Animation Editors, Graph Editor, and let's compare the Translate Ys here. So we have kind of a even amount for each step. Doesn't have to be exactly even, but a little more than we have, where we have those pretty big outliers with larger steps and smaller steps. This way they all feel pretty uniform in those steps. And let's see. Alright, and now let's look at the hips. Now I think in this case I am going to stick with a more typical up on the passing position and down on the contact which would be how a normal walk would go. Because like I said, this is going to be not super realistic, but a little more in the sticking to traditional walk style walk. And lift it back up and go back again. And let's clean those up a little bit more here too. Don't need a ton of that. And it should be a little more balanced than that, so scale these ones back up. Pretty good. And let's look at, go ahead and save our file real quick. And let's do a little bit of side to side on the hips here. And back again. And we'll cut that to probably about half of what we have, if even that much. Just so we get a little bit of that in there. Don't want a lot. Really don't want to see it. Just feel it. Let's see here. Okay, now let's do a little bit of rotate wide. Favor the front planted foot. And back. Again, this is probably too much, but we'll scale it back in a second. Let's look at that here. Bounce it back on both sides so we're hitting around the same amount, so we're not favoring the left side over the right side. And let's do a little bit of rotate Z as well here. And then we'll hit up the chest and pretty much offset everything we're doing right here, but that way we'll get a little bit of twist and turn in the chest as the walk would go. And scale it back a little bit more, balance it out. Alright, now let's hit up the chest. So we're going to grab all of these ones here. And we're going to start by giving them a little bit of twist there to offset what we did with the hips there. And back, and forward again, back this way. And obviously we're favoring one side pretty heavily, so let's scale everything back and then balance it out a little bit better. Let's see. And then we need to do a little bit of rotate Z to offset what we did with the hips there as well. And we might just need to tone down the hip a little bit more here too. Alright, and let's clean that up. And let's see how we're looking. Okay. Let's tone everything down a little bit more. And then we're going to rotate Y's. We'll cut those back because I don't want that arm to really be swaying so much. Alright, so that means we're going to have to just tone it down in the chest then. Alright, and that was rotate X in the chest, which is really weird. Still think that's a funky thing. Let's set up with these rigs is that the hips and the orientation is off from how the chest are oriented. Okay, and now our rotate Z is just a little over exaggerated, so let's pull that back. And let's see how we're doing now. Alright, so like I said, we just want to kind of build in so that there's a little bit of twist and movement in the chest, not so that we'd see it so much in there. Alright, and let's grab this arm. We'll do some swing here. Doesn't have to to be a lot, but this arm is going to be the bulk of the movement. The other arm's just going to have a little bit of movement, just because the body would be moving, but not really have a swing to it so much. Alright, and let's scale that back. Doesn't need to be so busy. Let's see how that feels. Actually, I think it should universally just move forward a little bit more. Maybe a little bit further swing back. Let's see. Okay, and now let's look at forearm here. We'll drag it back a little bit there. Swing it forward. Drag it back a little there. Swing it forward. Drag it back. Swing it forward. And go back to where we started. Let's see how it feels. A little too much forward and not enough back. So we'll exaggerate the back a little bit more. And tone down the forward. It's close. Let's see. Scale the movement down a little bit more, but then push it universally so it breaks a little bit better. Alright, and let's look at the wrist. Let's drag that back there. Swing it forward. Drag it back. Swing it forward. Drag it back. Swing it forward and go back to where we started. Let's see. Alright, probably a little over the top, so scale it back about 10%. Both sides. And let's see how it feels now. Okay, I think I'm going to tone down the side to side a little bit more. Scale it back and tone up the up and down a little bit more. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. It feels a little better. Okay, and now I did want to do a little bit, let's save our file here real quick. Remember, it's always good to save multiple versions and to save often whenever you're animating, just in case. And let's do just a little bit of back here, a little bit forward. Like I said, we're going to keep it pretty close to in the same universal space here. Just want to get a little bit of movement in there so it's not so stiff. Okay, again, that's probably way too much. Don't need very much of this at all, just so that we have some kind of keep alive in the arm here. Right, and then we'll go a little bit up here, a little bit down, a little bit up, a little bit down, back up again, down, and back to where I started. Let's see. Okay. Let's scale that back and let's amp up the movement in the arm itself a little bit more. It's just about finding that good balance so we can get that little bit of motion in there. Okay, so like I said, I think it's just going to be a matter of scaling this up a little bit more. There we go. And then maybe a little bit less in the arm. Especially when it goes upward. Oh, come on. Let me click, yeah. There you go. It's pretty close, but still do a little bit more. push it a little bit more. And then tone down the forearm a little bit more. Okay, that feels pretty good. Not perfect, but a little bit better than what we had before. So the next thing I want to do is I want to hit up and do a little bit of the compression in the chest there. Obviously this is way over exaggerated, but we'll get there. And then we'll offset it in the chest in a second here too. And I might even switch it so that it starts a few frames sooner. So it's not hitting at the same time that the translate Y is as well. I usually like to play off of that a little bit more. But let's get it started here and then we'll play with it a little bit. And like I said, all we're doing is just trying to get a little bit of movement in the spine and the belly by doing this. So we don't want to do a lot, but just a little bit. Give it some life so we're not sitting in that exact same universal space there. And this is way over the top, so I'll have to scale it back, but we'll figure it out. Okay, and let's clean that up and minimize it quite a bit. I do like to keep this pretty tight so there's not too many variations in there, because it can start to get real janky if it's not too clean. And it's not something that you even need, it's just more of a added bonus so that their stuff doesn't feel so stiff. A little bit. Let's see. And tone it back down in the chest. Let's still just keep scaling it back. I feel like that's a little too much right now. And we'll start it a little bit sooner. I'll throw another one in here. Because I think it'll work better if we actually don't hit at the same time as the translate Y's. So let's try that. We started at 2, right? And we're going to put another one in at 57. Let's see. Okay. Actually, could probably be exaggerated a little bit more, but I think we're getting somewhere. Leave it like that. And maybe what we can do is do a little bit of up and down here. Yeah, this is probably the wrong way, but we can invert it in a second here. Go back again, let's see. Yeah, now let's switch that up so we go the other direction with it. It is nice and loose, but it's not really sticking with the body mechanics too well. So let's tone it down and then we'll invert it as well. So we'll make our ups our downs and our downs our ups. Let's see how that feels. Yeah, let's put our downs a little bit more. And universally just push it down a little bit too. And let's just scale it back about another 30%. And let's look at the head. Let's set it here. And then we'll rotate it in X, so kind of glance over there. We'll glance over there. And back to where I started. Okay. Yeah, let's start with just a little bit of movement there. And we'll scale it back a little bit more. And we'll hold these extremes a little bit closer. And same here, just so you can kind of get that little bit of glancing movement there. Let's try it now. And maybe we could scale that back a little bit more. Just so it'll be kind of looking like he's glancing through whatever he's reading there. Alright, I'm going to save that and let's go back and look at the feet here. tops are a little too much. So I'll tone those down. And we'll do the same on this side. Scale those back a bit more. I kind of feel like maybe the foot should go a little bit further here. The translate Z should be a little bit more here, a little bit less back. So let's see. A little bit less back here, a little bit more there. Felt like they were favoring a little bit too much the back portion there. Okay, and let's look at what we can do with the toe here. So drag the toe down there, lift it up here, 2 frames, and we'll flatten it out, just so we can get a little bit of change of shape in that foot there. Drag it down there, lift it up here, and flatten it out. Let's see how we're doing. And we'll just take that toe drop a little bit less. There. Okay. And let's look at the other foot. And we'll drag it down here, lift it up, 2 frames, and we'll flatten it out. Drag it down there, lift it up, and flatten it out. And drag it down there, lift it up, and flatten it out. Yeah, let's see how it feels now. Okay, go ahead and save that. And let's look at this hand here. We'll do a little bit of dragging the fingers. So grab all of these guys here as soon as we can here, and set them there. Drag them back there a little bit, swing them forward, drag them back a little bit, swing forward, not a ton, but just so you get a little bit of movement through those fingers. And back to where we started. Okay, and then we'll take all of the tips of the fingers here and the mids. And we'll delay them a frame. And we'll take all the tips. We'll delay those an extra frame. We'll take everything on the pinky. And we'll push it a frame back. And everything on the index, and we'll push it a frame forward so it kind of leads and it won't fall. Yeah, let's take a look at that now. Okay, and let's look at the thumb. I'll pull it back here a little bit, swing it out, pull it back, swing it out, pull it back, and go back to where we Let's watch it now. And I think the flick back on that last one feels a little too far. I like the weight of it, but okay. And then let's look at all of these guys. We'll do just a little bit of keep alive here. Nothing too exciting. Alright, so make sure we set them there. And then we end back here. And then we'll do these ones all push in a little bit, and these ones all flatten out a little bit more. Accent just a little bit, and then we'll take everything here, and we'll delay it a frame, a couple of frames. I'll take everything here, we'll lead it a couple of frames sooner. Nothing exciting, just a little bit keep alive there. Yeah, let's turn our nerve curves off. Let's see how we're doing. Alright, yeah, we got a little businessman walk. So let's take a look back at where we started. I think we could still spend another hour or so polishing this up, but I think the idea is there. So he said, it's the organ of his sense of wonder, and wonder can be stirred not only by the strange and the new, but by rediscovering the accustomed. In fact, the value of the artist's gift centers about the fact that he sees what other people see, but sees in an enhanced way. And I wanted to talk about one other part that I didn't really mention in the beginning. And first of all, the organ that he's talking about is the eyes, in case I didn't reference that in the beginning too. But rediscovering the accustomed, that's a difficult thing, and that's why a lot of artists you'll see, well, you know, those who can do and those who can't teach, and those why read books. It's all about just the art and what you're feeling and all of this, and it's not about not putting feeling and emotion and having your own personal voice and everything to do it, but that you want to go out there and try and see differently, because your best art that you've created right now is because of your own ideas and all the ideas you've heard of so far. So try and learn from other people and grow, and not necessarily that you want to mimic your life after them or anything, but just so that you can get more ideas in there, so that it'll help you see differently and change your perspective and change your point of view and enhance it and grow. So always be pushing your knowledge. Look towards other mediums and see how those might inform. I know for myself, I was kind of stuck a while back in animation for sure, and then I started to think of it musically, and that helped me. Now, I still think sometimes I lose a little bit of weight thinking that way, but it helps me to think on, do I do this on 3s, or do I do this on 4s, or do I do this on 2s, or just that whole mentality of animation being more musical definitely helped me understand it, because that's where I kind of originally started with drawing and a little bit of music. So that helped me, and maybe looking at other things in your life that you're also passionate about, and thinking about your work, your creative work in terms of those things might also help you as well. So just be open and keep your eyes open and keep your ears open. Have eyes to see and ears to hear what other people might not pay attention to. So I love you guys lots. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes. You guys are amazing. I hope you're taking another step in your journey towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about today. And that you try and see with different eyes while you're looking around today. Maybe get inspired by something that you wouldn't have otherwise. So I think we'll wrap it up. Keep being awesome, and we will see you for some more animation tomorrow.